Get in, lads. I'm here to bring you guys 7 more players that should switch to the Jamaican national football team. Now, if you guys didn't know, this is a part 2. If you guys have not watched part 1, I'm going to leave the link to part 1 in the description below. Make sure to watch that before or after this video, just in case there are some players you think were left out of this video. They might be in that part 1, and if they were in neither, let us know in the comments down below, and maybe we'll make a part 3 if this video does just as good as the last one. We're going to keep making Jamaican and CONCACAF content for you guys. Actually, me and the boys are supposed to go to Jamaica versus Ecuador in the Copa America in Las Vegas in June. So if you guys want to see a match day vlog for that one, make sure to subscribe now and turn notifications on so you can be one of the first people to watch that video when it does come out in a couple months. And if there's another country you guys want us to make a video about their dual nationals, make sure to leave it in the comments down below and we'll look to make that video for you. But without further ado, guys, let me introduce the first player on this list, who personally is my favorite player on this list, and that player's name is Jonathan Rowe. Born in 2003, Jonathan Rowe is a winger that currently plays for Norwich City in the EFL Championship. 30 appearances in the EFL Championship. He has 12 goals and 2 assists for the Canaries, with 13 goals and 4 assists overall, including all competitions. And he's been a key part in the Norwich attack, who currently sit 6th in the EFL Championship, looking for promotion back to the Premier League. His actions led him to receive the Goal of the Month award for the month of January, as well as be nominated for the EFL Young Player of the Season. Internationally, he most recently played for the England U21s as he scored in his debut against Ukraine, where afterwards in a Sky Sports interview he said, quote, "Being able to represent your country, it was an indescribable feeling." Further saying he hopes to stay involved with the England youth side. But unfortunately for my Reggae Boy fans, there have not been any particular signs of a link between him and Jamaica itself. There have not really been any reports of a call-up from the Jamaican national team or anything of that nature, and I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't one soon. I mean, like he just said, he is very happy to be representing England at the U21 spot, so being as young as he is, he might not make that switch to the Caribbean side anytime soon, but depending on how his career goes in the next few years, I could see it being a more viable option if he isn't able to keep this good form going. That would eventually earn him a spot in the 3 Lions squad under Gareth Southgate. I would be leaning towards more of a post-2026 World Cup appearance for him, as I don't think he'd be a player that would be included in the World Cup qualifying squad moving forward. But if Jamaica were to qualify and represent themselves well in the 2026 World Cup, I definitely think it could open not only Jonathan's eyes, but a lot of other dual national eyes overseas, which definitely could lead to him and a bunch of others joining after that World Cup. But he's definitely one to still look out for just in case for the future, especially if he can keep this year's form going on and earn himself a move to a bigger club than Norwich City. Our second player is definitely one who was the most requested player in the part 1 video, and that's going to be Mason Greenwood. Now, I know everybody has their opinions on him, but purely as a footballer, I do think he would bring a lot to the Caribbean side of Jamaica. When he was rising through the youth ranks of Manchester United, he definitely was considered to be one of the world's future global superstars. His career has taken a hit, and it definitely does not look like he's going to reach that potential at all. Doesn't mean he won't be a good player though. He's currently on loan for Manchester United at Getafe in La Liga, where through 28 appearances he has 8 goals and 6 assists, with 2 more coming in the Copa del Rey. He is currently being scouted by a bunch of huge clubs due to his performances in La Liga this year, with Juventus being the club that seems to be most linked with him that could make a move for him this summer. Now, the important thing with Mason Greenwood here that also affects his allegiance to Jamaica is his contract situation. His contract was originally supposed to run out in summer of 2025, but it was reported that Manchester United did have an option to extend it 1 year. It's not confirmed if they did it or not, but apparently Getafe are accusing them of doing so, meaning that his contract actually ends in 2026 now. And this definitely was a move by United just to give himself a little more leverage when it comes to trying to sell him this summer. I don't think he would stay another year with Manchester United due to a lot of fan outcry and global football fan outcry. So a permanent move this summer would be most likely for him in my opinion. But for me, this is the reason he has yet to confirm a move to Jamaica. I do think, however, once his situation is rectified, he will heavily consider a move to Jamaica, as he definitely is a player that most Jamaican fans want out of anybody on these 2 lists here, and he's being talked about day in and day out by Jamaican media and some English media outlets reporting that either Jamaica are interested in him or he's interested in Jamaica, or the feeling is mutual. The Reggae Boyz manager has already publicly stated that he would want Mason Greenwood to have a second chance, and that second chance to be with Jamaica in the Caribbean. The door is definitely open for Mason Greenwood. I do think if he were to contact Jamaica and tell them that, hey, I want to play for you guys, the switch papers would already be in front of him within 5 minutes. They want him more than most players in the world, if I'm being honest. He would be a huge addition to the side once the World Cup qualifiers start in about a month and a half or so, as well as the upcoming Copa America this summer. So definitely keep up to date on Mason Greenwood's movements, because he is the key player for me amongst all 14 players we've talked about here. And it honestly seems that way for a lot of Jamaican fans too, as a lot of you guys have commented on our videos saying he is the one that you guys need the most. Moving on to the third player on this list, we have Tyrick Mitchell. Mitchell is a 24-year-old left back who currently plays in the Premier League for Crystal Palace with a transfer value of up to 22 million euros. And he's a player who is definitely in the running for a future England national team spot at that left back position. He's honestly been on the fringes of it the past year or so. As honestly, he really did deserve to move up to the three-line squad, especially because the three lines dealt with a lot of injuries on that left back side over the past year or so. Despite all those injuries, Gareth Southgate still continues to look over him, and honestly, if this continues for much longer, this is where I see Jamaica being able to swoop in and steal him for their international team. Now, it was reported that the Reggae Boyz were very, very persistent in trying to get Mitchell to make the switch to the Reggae Boyz, and seemingly, as far as we know, it seems like it's paying off. It was being reported in October of 2023 that he is seriously considering a move to the Caribbean country, but after that report was released, Roy Hodgson, who was the then manager of Crystal Palace at the time, came out and said that he's not interested at all and would rather play for the England national team instead of switching to Jamaica, because he already has 2 caps for the England national team. So he is still eligible to switch to Jamaica, but right now would be the make or break. I think this upcoming summer would be huge for him, depending on who calls him up first or who he wants to go to the most. But if he does come to Jamaica and makes the one-time switch, then he definitely would be a mainstay in the Jamaican side for probably the rest of his career. So believe what you want to believe. We really don't know exactly how he is feeling right now, but like I mentioned earlier, after more disregard from that England team, I could see him getting fed up with it and then moving to Jamaica. Now, number 4 on this list is Dane Scarlett. If you've played FIFA Career Mode or Football Manager in the past like 2 or 3 years or so, you 100% know who Dane Scarlett is. Only 20 years old, he is a striker that comes from the Tottenham Academy. And if you watch the part 1 to this video, you would know that he's the second Tottenham Academy prospect that we've mentioned, with the first one being Tyrese Hall. Now, Dane Scarlett's career has yet to take off like many thought it might. He was most recently on loan at Ipswich Town in the EFL Championship, but was only there for about 4 months or so before he got recalled by Tottenham due to a lack of game time, which, like I said, I get. Both Ipswich and Tottenham probably didn't expect them to be doing this good in the championship. So Dane Scarlett definitely needs a move next year to give him a lot more game time in a system that works for him, where he can make a name for himself in the English Pyramid. Since he's come back, he has not done much for Tottenham, both in the youth side and in the senior team. But like I said, a loan next season could change all of that for the future. Being born in England and coming from Jamaican descent, he has represented the England youth teams for a lot of his career. He started with them at the U15 level and has played with them up until most recently for the U21s. In regards to Jamaica itself, there hasn't been much talk about Dane Scarlett with Jamaica, either from Dane Scarlett being interested or Jamaica being interested. I do believe that if he were to move to Jamaica, he would get a decent amount of game time in that striker spot. And like I said with Ellis Sims in the part 1, he could be a mainstay in that striker spot once Michail Antonio gets too old and needs a younger, quicker player to lead the line for Jamaica. I think the World Cup qualifiers would be a perfect run of games for him to bring his career back on track, as for the most part, the World Cup qualifiers won't be played against the toughest opponents, but for me, at least, game time for him is most important right now. It wouldn't be as much the players he's playing against, it's more so the players he's playing with, where there's a lot of Premier League ballers on the Jamaica squad, so I do think it would be really important for him to make that switch and be able to acclimate a little bit more to that level of quality. Before we get into the last 3 players of this video, make sure to leave a like if you're enjoying this video so far. Leave a comment on anything regarding this video, whether it's a player that I've already talked about, a player I haven't talked about, anything you agree or disagree with me on. We want to hear your opinions in the comments down below. Now, moving on to number 5, we have Cameron Archer. Cameron Archer is definitely a familiar name amongst the English League fans. Only 22 years of age, he currently plays winger or forward for Sheffield United in the Premier League, who unfortunately just got relegated. He is a product of the Aston Villa Academy, where he did go on to make 10 senior appearances, all while being loaned out to I think 3 different teams during that time. That was Solihull Moors, Preston North End, and Middlesbrough, where he had a fantastic season with Middlesbrough. What's up with Middlesbrough? Middlesbrough and like Jamaica eligible players. I mean, it was him. We talked about Jed Spence in the last part. Both those players had like breakout seasons at Middlesbrough, and then since then haven't done a whole lot. But nonetheless, he has been an ever-present player for Sheffield United in this season. We could see him play Championship football next year, or he could stay in the Premier League by moving to another squad. It is rumored that Aston Villa have a buyback clause on him, so if they do feel that he deserves to stay in the Premier League, I would not be surprised in Aston Villa trying to bring him back to the club. Internationally, he has represented the England youth level on both the 20 and 21 squads, whereas he is also eligible to play for Jamaica through his mother, I believe. Honestly, he's a player that I would keep an eye on if you're either an English fan or a Jamaican fan. He could do something great with either team in the future of his career. It kind of all depends on the next couple years and how he develops a little bit more. Definitely a player with really, really high potential. So I could see him potentially breaking into that England spot, but he also plays a really tough position for England as they do have a lot of players in his position I would personally pick over him. Now, for me, if you're looking at it from a Jamaica Football Federation, I think he's a player where you kind of test the waters and grant him a call-up in the future, just to kind of test where his allegiance is. The only player who truly knows what Cameron Archer is capable of is Cameron Archer. So if he thinks he could stay in England and succeed with the national team, then he would stay. But if Jamaica extends the invite, it gives him something to think about. And if he thinks that's where he should be, then hopefully that's where he moves. It was reported back in 2021 that he was a part of one of Jamaica's biggest efforts in grabbing a lot of the dual nationals. So he's definitely been on the radar for a long time, and I wouldn't be surprised if he still is being scouted by them to some extent. Number 6 on this list is Reiss Nelson. Now, I know we have some Arsenal fans that are subscribed to the channel, so you guys know who Reiss Nelson is. And if you're a fan of the Premier League in general, I'm sure you've heard his name before. He definitely is one of the better products of the Arsenal Academy over the past like half decade or so. He's been in and around the Arsenal senior team. He's made 15 appearances this season, so he's definitely a good depth option. He doesn't have any goals or assists, but he is a good depth option for the Gunners, but I don't know if I would be satisfied with that if I'm Reiss Nelson. I really don't think he's going to be a player that is a mainstay with the England national team in the future. He could be, you never know. It kind of all depends on if or when he moves this summer and how he does there. I think that would determine it, but as of right now, I don't see Gareth Southgate calling him up anytime soon. Apparently Brighton are heavily interested in him, and if I were him, I would 100% take the move to Brighton, because Brighton, as everybody knows, are really good at introducing new names to the world of football, as well as rejuvenating careers for certain players. He has not made a senior team appearance with England. He last represented them on the youth stage back in 2020, so about 3 or 4 years ago. So he's still eligible to make the switch to the Reggae Boyz. He has reiterated and confirmed in the past that he is from Jamaica. He also, I think, is eligible for Zimbabwe, but he did come out to say that he's from Jamaica, not Zimbabwe. So both teams are pursuing him. I really would think he'd pick Jamaica more. Now, the last player on this list is Jacob Ramsey. Now, he was recommended a couple times in the comment section of the part 1, so we decided to include him on this part 2. He's 22 years old. He plays attacking midfielder and left wing for Aston Villa, who's the second player on this list to come from the Aston Villa Academy. Now, he is one of the top young attacking midfielder prospects for England. He easily could be a part of that 2026 World Cup squad, if I'm being honest. This particular season, he has made 21 total appearances for Aston Villa. Hasn't done much in terms of goal assist contribution, but he also has had to deal with a lot of injuries, with his last appearance being at the beginning of March. So it's been almost 2 months since he has made an appearance for Aston Villa. He's also, of course, the brother of Aaron Ramsey, who currently plays for Burnley, who may be included in a part 3 of this video if that's the kind of video you guys want in the future. Now, it was being reported by the end of 2023 that he was being recruited and had been approached by the Jamaica Football Federation around the same time that Ellis Sims was as well. But personally for me, I think out of all players on this list, he is probably the most far-fetched pickup. Like I said, he is one of the top players in the England youth like central attacking mid pool. So he very well could be a part of England's efforts moving forward, but there are also some factors that could prevent him from doing that too. What's fortunate for Jamaican fans is he is in a very filled spot on the starting 11. 2 young English players that I would put ahead of him in that spot are Phil Foden and Cole Palmer. So with the inclusion of those 2 players in the team, and not to mention other players that are older but play that role, for me, I think it'd be really hard for him to stake his claim in that spot in the starting role for his career. So not being able to be the solid number 1 here could be the reason he would potentially make a switch to Jamaica in the future, but that's definitely something that remains to be seen. I mean, he very well could go into the England national team and stake his claim and immediately from the get-go be in the same conversation as Phil Foden and Cole Palmer. We just never know. However, I think Jamaica should keep an eye on it, because if he is growing like obviously frustrated at his opportunity for the 3 Lions, that is when Jamaica needs to swoop in and tell him like, hey, you probably will be starting every game for us. Why don't you come on over to the Caribbean? So that was 7 players that should make the switch to Jamaica. Like I said earlier, if there's any more players you want us to see, let us know in the comments down below. Make sure to watch the part 1, because if there's a player that you think is missing from here, they may have appeared in that first 7 that we announced. Leave a like on the video also if you enjoyed it and you want more Jamaican content, CONCACAF content, or dual national content for other countries as well. And I just want to say we appreciate you guys' support on every Jamaican video we make. It seems that whichever one we do, we get a really good response from you guys. So we're very fortunate. We're very happy that we can reach out to an entire population that we didn't know we were going to connect with. It makes us very proud. On that note, I'm going to leave you guys there. If you want a part 3, let us know by liking and commenting. And hopefully we'll see you then. Take it easy, guys.